Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Explain series. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between a sexually transmitted infection and a communicable disease infection or a transmissible infection. So what is the difference? The reason why this is highlighted is because monkeypox is a new infection that is going around and it is presenting itself to sexual health clinics. So people are saying this is the new sexually transmitted infection. What people are presenting with are blisters around the genitals or around the mouth. Just because you have blisters around the genitals doesn't make it a sexually transmitted infection. However, the definition of what is sexually transmitted and what is just a communicable disease or a transmissible disease is a little bit woolly. So let's think of a few diseases and go through them, and let's see if we can figure out what makes a disease an STI, a sexually transmitted infection, and as opposed to just a communicable disease or a sexually transmissible infection. Monkeypox can be spread through face-to-face contact. It can also be spread through sharing of towels, beds, linen and clothes, as well as coughing and sneezing. And so obviously if something can be spread with close contact, by definition it can be spread through sexual contact. And so it doesn't matter if it's monkeypox, it doesn't matter if it's COVID or Marburg virus or Ebola virus or chickenpox. All these can be spread through sex because sex requires close skin-to-skin contact. But these are not sexually transmitted infections because the main method of transmission is not sexual. The main method of transmission is something else. I hear you now, before I get lots of comments in this section, a lot of people are saying, well, hang on a minute, most people are presenting with genital lesions because it's popped up or discovered in the gay community. Well, just because gay and bisexual men are presenting first doesn't mean it's sexually transmitted. You have to remember, the gay and bisexual community in most countries are a community that looks after itself, takes very good care of its own health, and is the only community I'm aware of that has sexual health screens every 3 months. No straight community ever does that, and because of that they are the litmus test for the health of the general nation. If they start going down, then it's only a short period of time before everyone else follows. Monkeypox is not a sexually transmitted infection because the main route of infection is not sexual. Looking at gonorrhea and chlamydia, chances are the only way to get gonorrhea or chlamydia is through sex, and so that is they're pretty obvious ones. Syphilis as well. So syphilis can technically be transmitted through non-sexual means, but over 99% of cases will be transmitted through sex. And HIV, again, the vast majority of cases there are transmitted through sex. Now obviously there's a bigger percentage there, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5% of cases that are transmitted through blood transfusions, needle exchanges, and it is a blood-borne virus. But the vast majority is passed through sex. But there are a group of infections that are still classed as sexually transmitted infections where the bulk are not transmitted through sex. Herpes, for example. So the vast majority of herpes simplex virus, usually that's the cold sore virus, is passed on probably before you're sexually active. And it usually crops up as facial herpes, or otherwise known as cold sores. So are cold sores sexually transmitted? Probably not, and chances are you got cold sores either from your parents or from your relatives as a baby, changing you, going coochie coochie coo, and then giving you herpes that way. The reason why herpes has got a bad rap is because there is a form of herpes which is called genital herpes, which could be any type, herpes type 1 or herpes type 2, which is found around the genitals, and that is usually comes around when someone is sexually active. And admittedly, it can lie dormant for decades before it first arrives, or it can pop up as soon as you catch it a few days, it can pop up a few days after you've caught it, and that unfortunately is just a little bit unlucky. So that's why herpes is classed as a sexually transmitted infection, and it's mainly only genital herpes people are concerned about. Very few people are actually concerned about oral herpes, despite the fact it's the same virus, and despite the fact 90% of the population will have herpes by the time they're 50. So, what makes an infection a sexually transmitted infection? 1, does it affect the genitals? And 2, is the main route of transmission sexual? And I would probably say over 70% of cases probably have to be transmitted sexually for it to be a sexually transmitted infection. Other than that, despite the fact that near enough every infection known to man can easily be transmitted through sex because you just need close contact, that is probably the definition I would give to what is a sexually transmitted infection. So it's more of an interesting conversation gambit. Hope you found it interesting. Feel free to leave any comments and any suggestions to any videos you want. Take care and see you in the next video. Bye.